Welcome to the November 16th, 2022 meeting of the Daytona Beach City Commission. We're delighted to have each of you with us. At this time, we would ask that our clerk would read our roll call.
Commissioner Strickland? Here. Commissioner May? Here. Commissioner Cantu? Commissioner Cantu?
Here.
Okay. Commissioner Henry? Here. Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Commissioner Traeger?
Here.
Mayor Derek L. Henry?
Here.
Okay.
Motion to allow Commissioner Cantu to attend virtually.
Second.
And just for the record, Commissioner Cantu will need some finding to authorize your virtual appearance under extraordinary circumstances. Can you state the basis for your request, please?
I'm ill right now.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, you stay there.
All right. We had a motion, we had a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. This motion carries 7-0.
Okay. We're going to move on to item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the October 19th, 2022 City Commission meeting.
So moved.
We'll take a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner Henry. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. This time, we will have our agenda. If there are any changes to it, our city manager will address them.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, we would like to add item 8C. A revision has been made to the original agenda summary. The new documents have been uploaded into our Novus agenda, and a copy has been placed at the dais as well as in the lobby. We want to add item 8J. It's the Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund distribution. We want to add item 8K, which is the Finance Department Bike Week sponsorship funds. And on that particular item, before the consent agenda is approved, Commissioner Traeger would like to read her contribution sponsorships. We would like to add item 8L, City Manager's Office, an amendment to Resolution number 2022-437 to include grant assistance in response to Hurricane Nicole. Add item 8M, Finance Department Bike Week sponsorship funds. Add item 8N, Growth Management and Planning Department authorization for right of entry for due diligence period and submission of a cell tower lease with Diamond Towers VLLC for cell tower to be located at 2545 LPGA Boulevard, which is Fire Station number 7. Those are our changes.
Motion to approve the agenda with the said changes.
Second.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. No questions or comments? All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Is she going to read those now?
After the, right before the consent.
Right before the consent, okay.
Okay.
No.
So we're going to move on to item number 6, which is our presentations. Item 6A is the reading of the proclamation. And is Mr. Noseworthy here? Okay. Is that for the consent?
I have a proclamation for a gentleman who is a very important part of our community as Advent Health CEO, and I would like to express my personal gratitude to him for his support of the First Step Shelter while serving in this role. First Step is an important part of our community, and Advent has been a wheel in helping to make that shelter successful. And so that's sincerely appreciated. The proclamation reads, in recognition of Ed Noseworthy. Whereas Ed Noseworthy, who has over 40 years of service with Advent Health, most recently serving as President and Chief Executive Officer for Advent Health Daytona Beach, retired on October 28, 2022. Whereas Mr. Noseworthy has provided Advent Health Daytona Beach with exceptional leadership driven by his passion and dedication to the hospital's mission to extend the healing ministry of Christ. And whereas under Mr. Noseworthy's leadership, Advent Health Daytona Beach earned many honors and became one of only 29 hospitals in the country to be designated as a top general hospital with an A rating, U.S. News and World Report. Also ranked Advent Health as a top hospital. And whereas we celebrate the end of an era with Ed Noseworthy's retirement, now therefore I, Derek L. Henry, Mayor of the City of Daytona Beach, Florida, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby recognize and appreciate Ed Noseworthy and wish him a happy and healthy retirement. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Daytona Beach, Florida to be affixed this 16th day of November 2022. Now, I would like to extend a few moments for you to introduce your guest, your successor, and share any remarks with us.
All right, thank you, Mayor Henry. First of all, I'd like to introduce the person who gets to follow me. David, I want you to come out. Something's really important here that I'm trying to warn David a little bit. I used to be his height when I started. And so you can see the wear and tear that happens with this job. But David is a very sharp young man, and I am so excited. You know, one of the things about leaving the post is who follows and how they follow. And I've had the privilege of working with David the last 4 years, and this is a really impeccable leader that will do the community good and do the hospital good and serve the. So you can't be more proud than having David Weiss following me here. And you have. I do have someone else from the hospital that's here. It's been, she thinks she runs my fan club. I don't have a fan club, but Julie Rand is well known in the community. She runs our foundation and does great work there. And Mayor, I'm going to make one other comment, and that is, it's been a privilege of working here and being a part of Daytona. Derek, you've been a great addition as the city manager, and it's been great being able to be involved in working with great people who care about this city. And then my last comment is, on the First Step Shelter. This is a work of a community, and one of the things that was really good in here is how Halifax Health and Advent Health came together to support this endeavor. So I don't want to leave this group feeling that it was all us. We could not have done it without Halifax Health stepping up into that space too. So anyways, it's a privilege to be a part of it, and thank you for the recognition.
Thank you. Rock star. Ed, you've been a rock star, and I just can't thank you enough. Really can't. Thank you. Take care.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 6B, which is our Beautification Tree Advisory Board Awards for November 2022. A member of the Beautification Tree Advisory Board to report.
Good evening, Mayor Henry, members of the City Commission, and Mr. Future. My name is Marty Grimshaw. I live at 4 Granville Circle, and I'm member at large for the Beautification Board. The board for November residential award winner, we have selected Bill and, let me go back here a little bit. They selected Bill Hayes and Susan Spencer, who live at 1207 North Halifax Avenue, for the Residential Beautification Award. Bill and Susan have been residents of Daytona Beach since 2002 and have resided at this address for 12 years. The property has been remodeled inside and out. One of the first things added was a sprinkler system. Bill has a large variety of tropical hibiscus plants with every size color, style, and texture. He enjoys hybridizing them. He's very, very talented. The types of trees, shrubs, and plants used for beautification include Elaeagnus, silverthorn hedge, large rain tree, floss silk tree, queen palms, a Bismarck palm, fishtail palms, variegated ginger, avocado trees, variegated lemon tree, various lime trees, blood orange plant, extra large staghorn plant, various bromeliads and Dutchman's pipe vine, and various plumeria plants. He is an avid gardener, and his property is beautiful. City Commissioner Ken Strickland, Zone 2, will present the award. Come forward, Bill.
Come on up, Bill. This is really a bad time of the year to give this to Bill. Summertime, he is just covered with beautiful blossoms and stuff. And also, a couple of tropical storms didn't do him any favors either here in the last couple of weeks. But there you go, Bill. There's your certificate.
Also, our November commercial award, we chose the La Quinta Inn and Suites at 816 North Atlantic Avenue. The property is owned by Ken Patel and is managed by Nish Patel. The business has been in Daytona Beach area for 20 years. The rooms were renovated in 2015 with tile floors, new vanities, faucets, and beds. The type of trees, shrubs, and plants used for beautification include crotons, Cape periwinkle, dwarf morning glory, Indian hawthorn shrubs, and a Hawaiian umbrella tree. The reason I particularly went to this property the day after Ian hit, and I was amazed at how well these plants had stood up with that hurricane. And it was just that the choice of plants were well suited to handle the wind and the rains that we had. I'm not sure whether, is there someone here from the La Quinta? Good, come forward. Mayor Henry will present the award to you. I didn't recognize you. That's just fine, at least you're here.
This certificate of achievement reads, "May it be known that this certificate has been presented to La Quinta Inn and Suites for distinguished achievement in commercial beautification, City of Daytona Beach." Signed by myself, Derek Henry as mayor, and Commissioner Ken Strickland of Zone 2. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 7, which is the opportunity for citizens to address the city commission on any item on the consent agenda. I do have one speaker. I believe it's Morgan Graham. And they. Did you want to sign up to speak on item 8C, the final budget amendment?
Regarding the drainage sewage.
No. Okay, then we're going to put you with
Nothing on
the
here.
general comments at the end. Okay, then I don't have any other speakers
On
for the consent
there,
agenda.
drainage and sewage? Oh,
Then I don't have any other speakers for the consent agenda, so if she wants to.
okay. At this time, we will yield the floor to our distinguished commissioner and colleague, Commissioner Ruth Traeger.
I wanted to report on some disposal of the Bike Week funds. $2,500 to the First Step Shelter, $300 to Parks and Recreation Summer Camp Program, $1,000 to the Jewish Federation for the Jerry Doliner Food Bank, $1,000 to the Jewish Federation, $1,000 to Habitat for Humanity, $300 to the Lucas Foundation, $500 to the Veterans Museum, $500 to the Halifax Historical Society Museum, $200 to the Heritage Preservation Trust, $500 to the Council on Aging, $500 to the Friends of the Bandshell, $500 for the Boys and Girls Club, $500 to the Family Renew Daytona Beach, $1,000 to the Volusia Volunteers in Medicine, $1,000 to the Team Daytona Law Enforcement Charities, $1,500 to the Humane Society Furball Fundraiser, $500 to the Lord's Academy, and $2,615 for the Food Brings Hope. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any other questions or comments?
And I
Okay,
don't have any other speakers for the consent agenda.
Motion approve the consent agenda.
we have a motion from Commissioner Traeger. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be noted by saying aye.
Aye.
Those who are
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. And those are the last agenda items that we have on the agenda tonight, so we can move on to comments and inquiries.
All right. At this time, we will have our comments and inquiry, which is led by Commissioner Strickland.
I'm going to withhold my comments till next meeting. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
It's like the
Yes.
first time in my life. Oh my God. Okay. All right. So a couple of things. Last night I went to a meeting at the NAACP held at Allen Chapel, and there were some concerns brought up by residents at that time. While I was there, I made a list of some of the concerns, and I'm hoping that I caught the ones that stood out to me a little bit. Also, Mr. Thomas was kind enough to be there as well, and the goal was to discuss the grant that we are setting forth for residents. As I'm looking at it here, something catches my eye on the city manager's update front page. It says delinquent mortgage statement. And so I'm assuming that that one means that you have to actually not pay your mortgage in order to be eligible for this. I'm just wondering if that's one of the requirements to be eligible for mortgage.
Yes, if Mr. Thomas is here, he can come in.
Oh, there you are. And so some of the concerns of the residents went as follows, right? One gentleman brought up the idea of storage costs. If you have a home and your home is now no longer available to you, you're putting your items in storage, are you eligible for storage costs? I'm just going to go through the list, and then we were both there. Then the other thing was disability. With regard to if you're on disability, you're not going to be working anyway, you have a certain amount of income, you still have a sizable amount of money, but you're not going to work again. Are you still eligible? What was happening was the income cap of $61,000. Some people were just outside of that on the high end, and the question was, does this exclude them from it? I'll go through it, then I'll explain a couple of things. Also, could we lower the rate of paperwork or the required paperwork when people are coming there? Some residents, the majority of residents had a concern about providing so much personal documentation when they had to come and apply, and that required bank statements, et cetera. Also, what if you're paying a family member? Is the family member eligible to receive the 9K? Can you take the 9K, pay your family member? Can they be your landlord in effect because you're living at their particular home? Because all of their bills are going up, water, lights, et cetera. Could we possibly organize a discount at Lowe's or Home Depot, any place that does home renovation or reconstruction that could possibly help offset? I do know that we have a permitting waiver, correct? You have to get your permit but not pay for the permit if you are doing construction renovation. Is that right? Just double checking. Is that right? That's right. Thank you. I'm not sure people were aware of that. Also, interestingly, it was why not just give the residents, and I'm just going to repeat them, why not just give the residents the $9,000 without having to go through some of the conditions? And an interesting point was, if I were the person, it would go something like this. It would go something like this. What I make doesn't actually matter as much as the fact that my circumstances have drastically changed. Can we take a look at the that we were all impacted, that we lost our homes, we lost our belongings? I might recognize that I have a job and I have some extra funds, but the fact that I've saved, does that exclude me from getting the $9,000? That I'm trying to paraphrase as best I can. If I get it wrong, I'm sure I'll be corrected. Also, was there something with regard to insurances that you caught, Mr. Thomas? There was a concern about the insurances. If you file for insurances, you could potentially raise your insurance rate. Did you catch that one?
Yeah, someone said if you file a claim within a year 3 times, you would lose your insurance.
All right.
Yeah.
And so those were some of the basic concerns that residents had. The meeting went for about an hour, and I'm assuming the NAACP may be having it once a month. I don't know, but I chose to go to last night's. And I was going because I just wanted clarification on this. I'd been telling people about the grant throughout my zone, but I was looking for a hard copy of some sort. And what I found at the meeting was this was given out, was a hard copy of all the information where I could just go door to door and hand it out.
So you mean to tell me you go to a community meeting to look for a...
I had not even heard about it. I had not even heard about it, and I wanted to hear Mr. Thomas speak about it publicly. I had not heard a public in the community meeting before about it. For me, anyway. Was that the first time you gave it? Is that the first time we talked about this, like, publicly?
You went
Yeah.
to look for the...
Well, just to get more information, so when I'm speaking, it's nothing bad that I went. I've done nothing wrong. I mean,
I was just...
I'm just,
wondering-
yeah.
I'm just wondering,
Yeah. I mean, for example, not a bad thing, no stones are being tossed to anybody. For example, the beautification, we have a beautification grant and the $1,000 one. So I've just been going door to door telling people, this is very nice. I never got something like this. Not a problem. We were closed. It was shut down. I had the original thick one, right, that had all of the, that's what I've been giving out to people. I had the actual application. Not a bad thing. I was just going to the meeting, didn't know what I was walking into, but I'm glad I went.
I just was taken with what you were saying
Sure.
as it relates, because I think that whatever paper he
Yeah.
has there, if you knew about the paper first, why not just ask them?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
And they didn't give it to you ahead of time?
At the time, there wasn't, nobody really knew about it. I called early. I said, do we have something? I've been going regularly saying, do we have something? It's been a busy time for everybody. It's okay.
Okay.
You know, but I'm glad we have this now. I think the information is laid out really, really well. And now I can go to my residents in Zone 3 and say, here it is. I've just been verbally doing it.
Okay.
But I wanted to get, this is the process. This is what's going to happen. It's going to be this day, this time, and these locations.
Okay.
I also, for the longest time, I've just been saying it. I feel like I'm justifying myself, but for the longest time, I've been going to people saying things like, it's going to be at the Peabody. When? 10 days, 9 days, 8 days. Well, now we have dates and times. And that's what I was going for, to understand the process. And I'll probably be there tomorrow at Allen Chapel. I want to see how it works so I can tell people clearly, right? So there's that. Did you want to say anything about last night? I don't know, your opinion, I don't know.
If you have something.
If not, it's okay.
It's not necessary.
Exactly. Okay. All right. So there's that. Moving on. I have some notes here. There's a lot of paper here tonight. I'm going to speak to some things that are going on downtown. We obviously know we had a major event take place downtown with EA #1, and then also with the following storm that happened directly after that. I made a whole bunch of notes. All right. So I actually went door to door. I spoke to my merchants secondarily, actually. I went to my residents first, and some of them are actually in the audience. As soon as I could, I went out and I said, let me take a look at some of the things that have happened. And people were communicating with me throughout the storm. And so I kind of had a sense of pictures as the event was taking place, what was going on. One of them, oh good, it came, yay, okay. So if you take a look at the pictures, that was Magnolia. And so there are people who live in Wall Street lofts upstairs, and then there are businesses downstairs. So can we just scroll through some of the pictures, please? That is on Loomis, and I have the lady here, Miss Janina is here. She was also corresponding with me. In that particular situation, while we had some sort of pump-out device was on Gardner, while that was working, there was no water. The minute it was turned off, it started to fill up. And I'm sure there were reasons for that, but that was a major concern for that entire area. Should you go to the next one, please? This is another view of Magnolia, but then also SMA further down the street. So there's one particular one, try flipping one more. There's one that shows a view of, that's Magnolia as well, and that's Glenna's Salon, Salon 230, and a parking lot behind that. Okay, go back one more, please. Hoping they all came through. One more. That was it? Oh, okay. This is from Palmetto. Okay, this is an area from Palmetto. Go back one more, or go one more. I have one of the cars driving through, and I was on Ridgewood, and I would just sit there and watch, and we were good enough to close off some of the streets. The streets that were closed off at Ridgewood, people didn't go down. Some people scooted through, all right? This here is a gentleman who lives on Palmetto, and he called me, and he was just devastated because every time one truck came through, and this is a side street, it was Shady Place actually, and I think Mr. Oliver is here also, it would just create these waves down the street the entire time. And I recognized that the police were doing all they could on the streets to shut off the roads, and we did a really, really good job. But the areas that we could not shut off, it was not good for the residents at all. All right, and those are just some of the pictures. I have not yet talked about what happened to Mr. McAllister's place down by the fishing hole area. We know that's constant flooding. He had cleaned everything out, and then it happens a second time. We recognize as merchants downtown that we take a risk because we know that it's a flood-type area, but there has to be something that either we as merchants, I'm a merchant down there, by the way, I'm on Magnolia. For me, when floods happen, I leave, and I don't come back until I go take care of everybody else. I just let it ride out, because even though the rest of the roads are drivable for about 2 days following it, Magnolia is still sometimes underwater, so people cannot come and do business. You might be able to get there, but you can't actually come downtown, right? Palmetto was really bad, all the way from ISB, the corner of ISB, to Shady Place and beyond. And we recognize we're not the only area, but Zone 3, which went from Shady Place all the way to Lexington and Anita area and Bowman, it was really bad down there too. So we all know what happens, but I just felt I had to share. And then I also asked some of the merchants to come and give their perspective. There are many merchants in here. If you're a merchant, raise your hand, please. Wow. Whew. Wow. Okay. So you know what? I appreciate the fact that you came out. I will also say that Miss Camille sent me something. She sent me a hurricane mitigation grant information from FEMA, which I sent to the city, and I'm not sure if we are aware of it, if we're eligible for it, but she was kind enough to do the research and send it to me, so I sent it forward. The merchant sitting right next to her, 2 to 3 weeks ago, I came in, and they gave me information on floodgates, on different ways that they could help themselves. So to that end, Stuart Marchman, I want to take a look at their building. On the not great side, they not all of us as merchants and residents, it's not that we're just downtown is flooded, great. But now we have to repair, rebuild, that costs money. The time it takes to do that, it costs money. The insurances, it costs money. The economic community does not come down here, so everybody is losing something at some point. Right? For the residents, it's not just the businesses. For the residents, they have rebuilt just like everybody else multiple times. What's interesting for them, they're noticing that it wasn't always like this. And the comment, and I'm just, again, saying what I've been hearing in my community, something changed. They don't quite know what the change was, but something changed, which has caused more water to come into their various areas, right? With regard to SMA, and I'm sure they're going to speak, the positive, when I went into the building, they had removed walls from the entire floor, the entire lower floor, and that's a big building, had to be redone. Okay, now that's a big building. They've got more finances. Hate to say it, you've got more finances, right? A small person, a smaller studio, a smaller business with 1 or 2 people, I see Christina over there, they're exhausted. They've been doing it multiple times for days, and it happens again. Nobody knows what to do. SMA did something different. What they did was, and it's on there, and they can speak to themselves, but I'm going to show you, I was really blown away. They have a picture in this packet at the very end. On one side Let's go to the second page from the back. On one side of a floodgate, it's completely dry. On the other side, there's water. So they had floodgates that they used, which held. And the reason the floodgate failed at some point when water came in was because a car went through Magnolia. A huge wave came, added extra pressure at speed, I suspect, and pushed it over. But up until that point, if you look at the picture, the floodgate held. So, and I know some other people tried floodgates. I think Glenna tried one. Hers did not hold. But for whatever reason, that's a great picture right there. There's held. So there is something that we can try and do. They even included the cost of the floodgate. So what I appreciate is that when merchants come and see your people, they always have solutions. And that's what we try to figure out, what are we going to do next, right? So I'm sure that SMA will come up and speak to that themselves. That is what has been going on during the storm and then also the recovery process. Just moving on from that topic, I would very much like if at some point in the future, I got some calls from Windsor-Maley. At some point, could we possibly have, I'm not sure if it's Housing Authority, if I think they're still involved with Windsor-Maley, if they could come and just give us a quick update on what is going on at Windsor-Maley in terms of the construction, renovation, how it's going, just that the residents in the community know and just that people know it's directly in the community. And I think that is it. So I'm really hoping that the residents will speak on the topic when it's time for resident chat. And I'm glad I had a chance to go with you door to door and find out what's going on. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Cantu?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Oh, we can hear you. Commissioner Cantu, can you hear us? We'll
Yeah,
go.
can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay. Did you hear anything I just said?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I just wanted to say thank you to Commissioner Traeger for your friendship and duty to our community. You will be truly missed. We wish you well in your future endeavors. And also kudos to legal, planning, and the city manager for preparing the cell tower resolution for the authorization for the right of entry access for this agenda. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Get well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Henry?
I just want to say to, it's on. Can you hear me now? I just want to say to Commissioner Traeger that it's been a pleasure and an honor serving with you. I have enjoyed you thoroughly. I'm going to miss you. And maybe now you can go and take some nice long trips and sit on a beach and drink a Mai Tai and wear your bikini. And just one other thing, which was I am just so thankful to that. If we have one good story, and that is that Cottle Circle did not flood.
Yeah.
It flooded this time again?
No. It did not.
Yeah, I'm talking about for Nicole.
Yeah, Nicole.
Yes. I lived on Cottle Circle for many years. And I raised children there. So, and I was there when we had the storms back to back to back Charlie and Jean, when you fixed your house and then immediately after fixing our homes, another storm hit, and then we would fix our homes again and another storm would hit. And I was a foster mom at the time. And back then, they didn't have a lot of foster homes, so I was crazy, and I had 8 foster babies because I was waiting for them to find placement. So, and I had those babies during the time of that storm. So I do know the trauma of trying to rebuild over and over and over again. And I have been praying. I am prepared to, if we need to go to Washington, whatever we need to do, I want to help the residents over in that area to feel whole and to not have the trauma of wondering when's the next time. And I haven't said anything these past couple meetings because I know, and they've been up and they've expressed their frustration. And I just want them to know that I understand. I do. I've been there, and that I'm going to do everything I can to fight with you, to write letters, to go see who we need to go, to see what we can do to make sure that you all are whole in your community. And I'm thinking about you. I prayed and prayed and prayed this last time, and I'm going to continue to pray, but I'm not going to just pray. I'm going to work. And you can call me. You can address your concerns with me personally. And just want you to know that I'm in the fight with you. And also, the Santa Run is coming. Do we have a date for the Santa Run yet?
December 16th.
So the Santa Run is coming, and we are going to include Zone 6, and I'm going to have the city manager to explain to you how the Santa Run is going to go this year. It's going to be a little bit different. So you want to tell them how the Santa Run is going to go?
It's going to be between the Commissioner Reed and Commissioner Henry Zone, and ending up at the Midtown Center, which will be at the Julia and Charles Sherry Cultural Enrichment Center, where we'll have Santa there for individuals to take pictures. But we're going to try to cross over from both of the areas, both communities, and end up starting at 5 and ending up with Reed. But we'll start at the old YMC area in Derbyshire.
Right. Okay. So those are going to conclude my comments for tonight. And I have some more that I want to talk about, but I'm going to wait until the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Reed?
Yes, sir. I truly believe that this is the commission that's going to bring about a change. I believe that we are genuinely concerned for our citizenry and our city and our business owners. And I think we're proving that in all that we do. I want you to know that we do care, that we are going to do everything that we possibly can to bring about a change. I hope this is the commission that brings about as much of a possible change as we can. Don't know what that change is going to be, but I think we're ready for the fight for whatever that change is. I want to commend our citizens for coming out to the different meetings that the NAACP has hosted to try to bring about clarity in what we were doing, allowing them the opportunity to voice their dismay with what they've experienced. I want to thank Ken Thomas and any of the staff members that joined him last night to try to explain the grant process that staff has put together. They've been working diligently for the last couple of weeks. I know we've all been asking, well, when after we voted on it, because people need help right now. And you know, when you keep on doing what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. I don't know when we've ever done what we're doing now before.
Been able to.
We haven't been able to. It's because of these federal funds that we're able to give you what we can. And we've got to be responsible for these funds. Because I'm going to tell you, I can wear just about any color. And I like orange. But I'm not wearing an orange jumpsuit. So we've got to be responsible and we've got to be accountable, and we're going to assist you in any way that we can. It may seem strenuous on you, the application process, but we want to give you the money. We're not going to make it difficult. We just need you to work with us in helping you, because we have to be accountable for these federal dollars. As you know, they were initially meant for COVID.
We still are.
And we have moved them into the general fund to be able to aid you regarding the hurricane. So that's one step right there. And step two is we're coming to the community, to you, to complete the applications. and we've reached out to ask volunteers to assist us in doing so. We've chosen 2 locations within the community to bring the applications to you. We want to help you. And if you put that in the forethought of your mind, that we're really trying to help us help you.
That's true.
Help us to help you.
Yeah. Well said.
That concludes my comments.
Thank you.
Right. Sorry, sir. Could you just point out to people that on the front of this, since I've got all my business people here, information about the 3,000 for businesses, and that's happening at the Peabody next Tuesday. So take a look at that. The manager's update is always really, really good. But all the information you need is right there. And I think last night we didn't even have a chance to talk about the small business community. We just really discussed residential funds and not the small business funds that are available, which are great because they're for businesses under 50, persons with less than 50 employees. So it's not much, but it's something. Yeah.
Commissioner May, I do think
Please.
we need clarity on that from Ken.
Yeah,
because
please.
that was for Storm Ian.
Right.
Can it be also
Yes.
applicable to Storm Nicole?
I think
for
we
the
approved
business owners?
that last week.
Yes?
We actually did an amendment
Yeah.
tonight to include relief for
Okay,
Nicole.
good.
Yeah, so that's both of them.
That was one of the additions.
Commissioner Traeger?
First of all, I'd like to speak about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's the City Island Recreation Center. I want to tell you about the story of the City Island Recreation Center, something that I believe my husband should have credit for saving because he did. Several years ago, our former city manager decided to get rid of the rec center to make a parking lot out of it. There was a lot of talk about the rodents in the building, but instead of hiring an exterminator, he abruptly locked the doors on a community center that had been used for community meetings and dances. This was almost the same scenario as what happened when he abruptly closed down the oldest shuffleboard court in the state of Florida in order to make a grassy area for the Tortuga ballpark. He destroyed it for no reason. The players were furious, and I think some of them still are. And as he did in Riverfront Park, all of the beautiful wandering water streams designed by famous architecture in 1923 were destroyed in one Saturday afternoon. And the same fate was planned for the rec center. Warren saw it was headed that way. After it had been shut for about 3 years, Warren decided he wanted to get into the building and to see what condition was in, and he asked the former city manager, and the city manager provided Warren with access to the building, and he went through it. At that point, there was not a darn thing the matter with the building. No physical damage, and especially no rodents. There was scuttlebutt about tearing it down, and after a few more years down the line, they tentatively made a date to turn it down. And Warren spoke to the manager, as he did before, telling the manager that if the building was torn down, there would be large protests from the public. So the project was put on hold again until the past 2 or 3 years. They got a contractor to look at it, and he came back with an estimate of about $1 million. That did not frighten the public too much, so the city decided to get a much higher estimate, $2 to $3 million, or maybe as high as $4 million, a scare tactic that did sort of work with the city commission. As Warren, being on the City Historic Preservation Board as the oldest member and the longest-serving member, he decided on another tactic. To save the building by having the city designate the rec center as a local designated historic building. He made a motion at the Historic Preservation Board to have it designated, and the motion passed unanimously by the board. Then the city staff found every reason not to bring the matter forward. The manager controls what comes up before the city commission. Therefore, it was never brought up before the city commission. Our current city manager, when he got here, decided to either have the building torn down or saved. Warren got with the city manager and was allowed to go into the building again 8 years later. And from the neglect of the building 8 years later, it was not really all that bad. It had a water leak from the water heater that warped a small area of the floor, plus one small leak in the ceiling about 2 foot by 6 inches, which was nothing, and one little old broken window pane and another little hole in the roof on the east side. And of course, it needed a good cleaning. As far as the building itself, it was in pretty decent shape, but could use some upgrades. I, Ruth Traeger, needed to appoint one member to the fact-finding committee set up by the City Commission, and knowing Warren's background being on the Historic Preservation Board as the longest-serving member and the oldest member, and him being born here and always living in Daytona Beach, I thought he would be the perfect appointee, not because he's my husband, but to my surprise, he said he would love to do that, but he said that there would be only one person better than him that could help save the rec center, and that would be Bill Chapin, an architect and knowing Bill's history. If the building is saved, Warren is the one who should get the credit. Warren has tried to save the recreation center from the wrecking ball from the beginning. And I just wanted to conclude with those remarks for somebody who didn't know about it. Now another thing on my long list of stuff to talk about. It has been an honor serving the residents of Zone 1 and the residents of the city of Daytona Beach. And I appreciate very much all the love and help and support I have gotten all these years, especially from my city commission, who has made me feel like you're part of a big old family, and the staff, especially the staff, who has always been able to help me. I was a little surprised during this election at the, what is a nice word to put about it, but the sabotage that kind of went on and the disgraceful whispering from one campaign worker talking to some untruths to some of the cars that came by, not knowing that some of them that came by were my friends and alerted to me to what was happening. So anyhow, I know that the good Lord has something fixed up for me to do, has got some plans for me, and I trust in him completely. So, love to all of you, and I'm not going to be going away. I may not be sitting up here, but I'll be sitting in the audience, or I'll be sitting at home with a box of popcorn enjoying the show. Anyhow, I love you all. I thank you all, and I look forward to the next adventure in my life. Thank you.
Well, I'm not going to be long because I realize that we have a lot of residents to hear from, and I often share my personal information because I personally do like to hear from folks about what they're experiencing, and my heart continues to be broken for our community as it relates to so many things. The last few years have been very challenging for us as a community. When you talk about, all that we went through as a community during, and not post, because we are not post-COVID. I know that we believe that we're living in a post-COVID world, but the reality is that if you look at any data, any statistics, you know that COVID is still with us. And that's not just from a health perspective, it's from a psychological and educational, we're continuing to rebound from COVID. And so we do live in among the most pristine and best places I believe there are to live on the globe. And I've been here my entire life, and for most of it, we've been very fortunate as it relates to storms. Unfortunately, these last two, that was not the case. And so today, I crafted a letter that I will revise tomorrow and send to the governor and invite him to join our community. I realize that he has a lot to do, but I do want to make certain that from one elected official to another, from the head of state, from the head of city to the head of state, we want him to come. And he's welcome to see what we've experienced. And I want it to be known also just how important, because we're a community that, we suffer on both sides of the bridge. And I've been here my whole life, and the one thing that I've always worked on, first time I ran for mayor, my platform was one city, one vision. And that was, the agenda really was to bridge the divide in our community. Well, one thing that I think that should remind us that we certainly have more in common than not in common is the storms. These storms have not known a color, it hadn't known a gender, it's only known how to wreak havoc in our community. And so, we as a commission have tried to be responsive, and we will continue to try and be responsive. And our staff, I believe, is doing the very best job that they can to respond as quickly and expeditiously as possible. So I have crafted that letter, and we will send it to the governor. We will invite him to Daytona Beach. We will say to him that all portions from the beach side to the core of our city, meaning Beach Street, to the most impacted, which is the Nova Canal, which continues to revisit us over and over and over and over again. And I was elected in 2009, and we did spend money, and we did do things, and we did hope that things would get better, but we simply do not have $100 million to fix the flooding, and we are going to need, federal intervention as it relates to fixing a lot of these problems that we have and beyond. And I was on the phone this week with Senator Rick Scott's office, hoping to set up a meeting when we journey to Washington, hopefully in January. So we're going to knock on every door and do all that we can to make us whole. And I want you to know from the depths of my heart that we are with you as a commission. And I want to thank my colleagues on the commission because, for instance, Commissioner Henry, her zone really doesn't flood. Commissioner, she has one pocket off of Vine Street that has some problems. Other than that, it's zero real issues in Zone 5. Likewise, it's similar for Commissioner Cantu, very little. But all of us, we're united in this cause to do the best that we can to help us to weather the storm, and it's been a storm. So with that said, Mr. Manager, if you have anything, we would allow you to speak, and then we're going to hear from our attorney and then the resident.
Yes, just a couple of items. We will be asking at our next Wednesday meeting to move our December 7th meeting time until 7 p.m. because it kicks off events in the downtown area. So we'll bring something back to you all in reference to December 7th meeting starting at 7 p.m. Hopefully the agenda will be similar for that meeting. Also, just want to say, as you stated, Mayor, the meetings are currently trying to be scheduled when we travel to D.C. In the effort to try to find ways to improve our infrastructure and find resources to do that. Also, I want to say to Commissioner Traeger, I will miss your long list of items for the agenda. Thank you for your confidence in me here to be the city manager of Daytona Beach, and I look forward to us still being able to every now and then have lunch. So thank you. But if you do have items that you want to share with me, I know you'll send that list of 20 items on each agenda. But thank you for your service to Daytona Beach.
Thank you. And I too, I want to say that, Mr. Manager, if you would speak with staff if we have any, it's basketball season, and we have young people, and you have some families that cannot meet the requirement for the payment. Let the staff know that if that is the case, we will set up a fund to take care of that, either using Bike Week funds, or you already have it?
Yeah, that is one of the.
Oh, that's one of her-
funds she put in to support our Parks and Rec. That is one of the items that Commissioner Traeger put in to support kids that cannot pay for our programmings.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, that's awesome. And in conclusion, I didn't make mention of this, but I've known the Traegers, way more, 45 years. I was probably 10 years old when I met them. And, we stood in the line, the first campaign that wasn't successful for you all. And we, shaking hands and working folks and working campaigns, but you stayed, both of you, as campaigners, and you don't campaign without a family. We all know that. But, what I always appreciated about both of you is the way that you conducted yourself during campaign season. It was always above board, without reproach, and in a civil manner. And that is what I always aspire to for our community. It was one of the reasons that I told people when Commissioner Strickland came, there wasn't going to be a problem. The man was nothing but cordial and a wonderful candidate. And I continue to respect him for that. And I respect you guys, you both, for that. And Warren has loved our city all of his life. And I appreciate, our friendship, and that will continue. That will never end. So thank you for your service. And I look forward to hearing your voice, Warren. Not so much as Ruth, because she's not going to say as much, but if you choose to, know that my ear is ready to listen.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you. Thank you. So at this time, we'll, Bob, sorry.
Nothing to add. Just best wishes to Commissioner Traeger. It's been an honor working with you.
My brief pause there. Okay, we're going to start. Our first speaker is Stephanie Jones, and on deck is Constance Portier? Portier. And if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Jones. I live at 625 Russell Drive, and my home was flooded. I didn't have flood insurance because my insurance was put on hold because I was still within the 30-day wait period. So everything I had, everything I owned was on the curve. I have been told at the last meeting that I was at yesterday that if you have over $15,000 in the bank, you will not qualify to receive the $9,000. If you make over $61,000 a year and you're a family of one, which I am, you will not qualify. I lost everything, just as the ones that have insurance, just as the ones that make less. It shouldn't matter how much I make, what I have in my bank account. I still lost everything, just as they did. And I should be entitled to the same amount that the ones have $1,000 in their account, overdraft, $100,000. I still lost everything. FEMA, which is the Federal Emergency Management Administration, it asks you what you have, but they don't fine you for it. You still receive assistance. But the city of Daytona Beach, where I live, where my taxes go to, I'm being critiqued for $9,000, for the $1,000. My yard was flooded. I had to climb out of a window to get out of my home. But I cannot receive $9,000. I spent 33 years in the military. I put my life on the line. So there's so many people in this room so that so many people in this room would not have to fight. And I did it with no problem, and I will do it again. So why is it a problem? Because I chose to save, and I'm being punished for it. And another question I have is, I did not know about the infrastructure drainage problem in the area where I bought the home. And my understanding from the residents there, that it's been an ongoing problem. My concern is there something in the works to do something about it if it's been happening over and over and over and over? If the beach side flooded and they received $20 million overnight, and we are offered 1.5, and we have to give up our life to get it. I mean, everything personal, we have to put it out for everybody to critique it.
Okay. Your time, I understand. Your time is up. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Constance Poitier, and on deck is Marjorie Johnson.
Hello. I'm Constance Poitier, or you can say Poitier.
Sorry.
But Sydney did not say Poitier as a child. He is a relative. He was told by Ruby Dee when she was in a movie with him, you can't say Poitier anymore. Okay, I love children, and this is the beginning of an outreach dedicated to a purpose-driven life. I want you to hear what happened to me the day after I retired. I woke up, I said, I'm just gonna get up, go have breakfast, and then take a nap. I had a lot of plans of resting and visiting my grandchildren who live in Georgia. And something nudged me, and I got the attention that I felt like it was God telling me, I want you to start a children's choir. I said, wait, I've been working 45 years. I need a break. And then he pulled a Job on me. Job 38:4 says, he was asking Job, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? And then he took me down memory lane, if you will allow. I was born premature, underweight, double pneumonia, expected to die. Mother died at 9. 15, I was shot. 16, I laid on my deathbed of mumps and meningitis combined. I didn't have parents, but he sent somebody to me. Just happened to be a white couple in a very racist town. And they took me to Daytona, showed me Bethune-Cookman. I sang for the choir director and went home with a scholarship. Then, later on, my talents led me to Carnegie Hall. That was life-changing. And I want that for my children. Would you all stand up? Oh, He showed me a vision of a children's choir where someday one of the children are going to be famous over the world and speaking to thousands of choir people, and I don't know what the profession would be, but that child was going to mention Daytona Beach, Bethune-Cookman, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, and even my name. But he didn't promise me I'd be here. I had a car accident the day before Hurricane Michael. You want to talk about hurricanes? My head was bust open from the forehead to the middle. Everybody thought I was dead. I was racially profiled when I was driving through North Florida. 6 cops surrounded me, put me in handcuffs, and held me at gunpoint in a wooded area. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair. All of these children from Volusia County schools in this choir come from non-traditional situations, but their talents are undeniable. And most of them aspire to be lifelong musicians. They want to be music teachers, singers, some play instruments. 2 of them have started composing. One of them went to Allstate in Tallahassee to represent Campbell Middle School. My own son went to Campbell Middle School, and now he's the only black male voice professor at a conservatory in America.
You've got to ask, because your time is up, Ms. Portier.
Okay, I'm up. I'm through.
You are.
Closing statement, please help us.
Our next speaker is Margie Johnson, and on deck is Dan Peterson.
Johnson, 122 South Key Street. I'm here tonight to address the flooding problem also. Many residents in our community on Hudson, Caroline Street, Keith Street, and many streets were flooded out. And I hear you say about your one city, one vision, but that has turned into one terrible nightmare for these people, because every time a hurricane comes, they are flooded out. And I heard Ms. Reed say tonight that they are concerned and they're going to do everything. You know, you've been sitting in office since 2009, 13 years. She's been here 3 terms. You know, this problem was brought to you by Libby Coleman, who came here and pleaded with you people before this hurricane came. She stood at this podium and addressed Ms. Reed, and you also, Mr. Henry, and people who say they lived on that street. That has nothing to do with who lived there. This problem needs to be solved. One city, one vision is a terrible nightmare. When these people have lost everything in their homes and they can't get the money to replace a lot of this losses. So I'd like to say to you tonight that this should have been a priority that should have been at the top of your list to get this problem solved. That's why you was elected. You are here to do the people's work, not sit up and profile and bring shit with it here and brag about you with someone in a boat. The fire chief in here to say you made a good speech. In my zone, that yard over there at Key Street in the 200 block needs to be cut again. I come to every meeting and say that. It's 6 feet tall. We have no access except the city manager and Ken Strickland, my commissioner. These are the only one that's meeting with us to address these problems. I had a meeting with Ms. Reed about 4 years ago. She didn't show up. She said, let's set up another meeting, and she never did, and she never responded. So I'd like to say to you tonight that you're here to do the people's work, and we expect for you to solve this problem with this flooding. I do know for a fact, Carter Circle, that tick back there was not drained. And you need to check those drains, and you need to make sure they're all functioning properly. We want our residents to be treated with dignity and respect, and you can do that by fixing this flooding problem. I also like to address my friend, Monica Paris. I supported her in her bid for Zone 1 seat. She will do an outstanding job to represent the citizens of this community. And these are the type of people we need to put in office. People who will be here to do the people's work. So we want you to address this problem, make
Our next speaker is Dan Peterson, and on deck, I believe it's Fred Cleveland.
Hi, my name is Dan Peterson. My wife and Anna and I just relocated here about 3 months ago, and we escaped South Florida thinking, oh, great, no more storms, right? We purchased a business down on Beach Street, and I'm not going to stand here and tell you what everyone else is going to tell you. The floods, yes, they damaged the business twice. What I'm going to encourage this group to do is think big. Inviting the governor is a great thing to do. We lived through a lot of stuff in South Florida, and the drainage problems can be solved. Miami Beach used to get water almost waist high. And yeah, it costs a bunch of money, but it can be done. And as community residents and community merchants, we should all be here to help you, not here to just stand up and bang the gavel and say, hey, we need money, we need this, we need that. We're here to help, but think big. The one thing I will say about the flooding since we got here that I have noticed is even, it doesn't take a hurricane. If you go down down some of the side alleys off of Beach Street, a heavy rain and it's already over your ankles in water. So it's definitely a drainage issue that can be fixed. I just encourage you, don't get discouraged, think big, and invite anybody and everybody from state and federal government to come take a look, and you'll see, and talk to the merchants. We're here to help. So that's all.
Our next speaker is Fred Cleveland, and on deck is Patricia Hurd.
Oh. Welcome, Mayor.
Good evening, Your Honor. Commissioners, Derek, good to see you, sir. Thank you. Fred Cleveland, General Manager and owner of the Crest Building, 140 South Beach Street. And on behalf of the 40 merchants and business owners in that building, I seek your indulgence to find an end to the continued flooding. We are suffering mightily with many closures and recovery between Storm 1 and Storm 2. I call this storm fatigue that we all are suffering, and we all want to get back to normal lives. But as the previous speaker said, and you hear from the crowd, this was the worst of the flooding, but not the only flooding. We've seen that regularly during the rainstorms, and so something really would be great to be looked at from an engineering perspective, to think big and to fix this once and for all. I indulge you as a resident and a business leader here, and on behalf of the 40 folks that are dependent on their income from 2 doors in and 2 doors out that are ankle deep in water, that cannot operate their business because the elevator stops operating, the doors swell up. It's not safe. To please take your time, think large. Go see the governor. I'll be right there with you. And help us get out of this mess. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Patricia Hurd, and on deck is Al Lutens.
Say who's on deck again?
Is it Al Lutens?
Mayor Cleveland, congratulations, and I know that you have to think big as well. So, okay, take care. Mhm.
Good afternoon, Patricia Hurd, 822 Vernon Street, Daytona Beach, Florida. Last night we had a large group there concerned about the hurricanes, not only one, but all of them. And like I told you before, I was just blessed not to have gone through as much as the others have. And I'm asking the city to reach out and help us, help them that need the help the most. That's all I'm asking. I don't see whereby we need to produce a bank account, checking account, and all of those things to get $1,000 for landscaping or something. Okay? Okay, I see your looks. All right. I'm going to talk about Dr. MLK Boulevard. As I told you before, that's the worst street I have seen anywhere that I've been traveling down Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard, which is known as Newtown to me. Newtown. And I wish you can go down there tonight and you'll see some of the things, or most of the things I'm speaking of, especially near Park Drive, Loomis Avenue. I'm also asking you to put more lightings on MLK. Why do we have purple lights? To me, they are purple. They are dark blue or something. In other words, it's dim down there.
Okay.
Even on my street, we need more lighting. But it doesn't seem so no one is listening. Now, storm debris removal. Go down MLK again. Between Cedar Street and South Street, Trash is still there. It has been there. And I told you I drive around on the beach side, this side, and it needs moving. And then you're saying put everything, don't put leaves in the bag. Okay, they're going to come and pick up the limbs and everything and leave the leaves in the streets. Let's do something about all of this, please, because Newtown is my town. Midtown or Midway is Midway. And why we wanted to combine such large area, I don't know. Let's take one side at a time. Thank you and have a good evening.
Our next,
Mr. Mayor, I just want to follow up on that, with the whole picking up of debris situation. Throughout the city, we're experiencing something, but specific to Zone 3 right now. On Walnut Street, I sent an email about this also. Walnut, Beachside, Palmetto area, Anita area, Bowman area, all Zone 3 areas. We have very small streets. We recognize that the double-decker trucks cannot get, the FEMA trucks cannot get there. So since Ian, some of these streets have not been addressed. Gardner, Walnut especially. In those communities, I have a lot of seniors. They cannot bring the debris to the front of the street. And I'm wondering, is there anything that we can possibly do? And I know I'm not alone. The very tiny streets, the trucks cannot make it there. And the residents, we're not supposed to really do that, move them to the dump or landfill ourselves because the city loses. But can we get some sort of assistance with that or some help with that?
Dave?
One other thing, could we get a schedule if it's possible? I'm getting residents call me from all parts of Zone 3 in terms of FEMA. Do we know where they're going? Residents are willing to hold on to their debris in their backyard for a while. If they know FEMA is coming, they can put it to the front. That's the question.
They're not gonna know that. Excuse me, Dave, do you have could you just
I'm
let
sorry,
staff
Mr.
know?
Loons, if you could just have a
Just a
seat,
second.
though. Yeah.
Yeah, it's David Waller, Public Works Director. We're going to address some of those questions. First of all and foremost, the narrow streets, Walnut is an example, is on our list, and all streets are going to get service. It doesn't matter how small it is and how narrow it is. We do have to bring in different equipment to pull it out, but we're working to do that. That crew, the secondary crew of the smaller equipment, is working hard to get caught up behind the bigger trucks. We've done about 250,000 cubic yards in about 85% of the city for a first pass with vegetative debris, and we're anticipating getting just about 100% of the city prior to Thanksgiving. So we're very close.
Thank you so much. I know it's a lot.
When you say vegetative debris, so that does not include furniture and that sort of thing?
There is some furniture still left in town, and once the vegetation is done, they're going to do another sweep to collect the furniture. There's a fair amount still, we know, scattered throughout the city, the Paramount Beachside and the northern side of Beachside, and we're working to make another loop for that. It has to be collected separately.
Okay.
And the vegetation is faster to collect in C&D because we process that on a parcel that we're borrowing from the Speedway. And the C&D has to be a direct delivery to the landfill, which it's slow. We get the larger volume up. We're doing the vegetation right now very, very heavily.
I have said this, and while I realize that the vegetation is important to people, my belief is, and I don't know if you have any influence, I said this at the meeting last week, that if a person has a refrigerator and a mattress out, it's actually more important than vegetation to be picked up. And I noticed on this weekend, they finally came down my street, and I was actually hoping that they not come down my street until all of those sorts of things were picked up. And I had an argument with a neighbor, and I said, I just don't agree that this should take precedence over someone who had to take things out of their house and put at the road. So if you have any influence with FEMA, and I don't know if I can't speak for everybody, you all want to agree because we're giving directive to staff.
Yeah.
But if we agree that if they can prioritize those things and the vegetation is not first, because those are more of a health issue. Vegetation has a natural
Decay.
life that will run its course. Those will not. Am I in agreement? Because I'm asking
Yes.
staff to do something.
Yes.
Okay, so
And-
if you can, I know I realize that it's not within our control, but if you have conversation with someone,
Well, it is. And
Okay.
FEMA gets described as if they're doing the collection. The city of Daytona Beach is doing the collection through a contractor and will apply to FEMA for reimbursement for the control of the trucks. We control where the pickup happens through our vendors that we brought in on our behalf. And so we do make decisions on where they go. And we did do a very comprehensive, heavy collection of personal items about 2 weeks post-storm through the core flooded area, kind of around, the Midtown Bowl area, and then the golf course, Fairview Estates, in the effort to get those personal belongings off the curb, that emotional attachment to
Exactly.
all your belongings being, we recognize that being very, very important to returning to some semblance of normal and getting your emotions taken back out of the process. Those areas have all been serviced for C&D. We've done a significant amount of it. What we're seeing out in C&D now is some folks are starting some renovation work, they're doing demo, and we're seeing some other, then there's the normal household items that come out. You buy a new couch, you need to get a new bed, and it's kind of mixed as to whether it's really storm debris or if it's really something Waste Pro should be getting collected. So we're going to do another pass, swipe all the C&D up, and then release it back to Waste Pro for normal service. So we're very, very close to making all of these things happen. And, as far as the scheduling,
Yeah.
don't wait. Get it out front, because when the volume goes down, my contractor's gonna go. They get paid by the volume and they get paid by the load. And so if there's no debris out and somebody's
Right.
holding it,
Right.
I mean, we're gonna lose our extra support, and we'll be leaning on Waste Pro to do that. It's gonna be very slow. So if folks have debris in their backyards and they haven't moved out, I implore everyone to please get it out front.
Okay.
I can't see it. I
Okay.
can plan for it, and it needs to be out front.
And so that also includes, so even those small streets, at least if they get them to the front of the street, you're doing drives, you're doing sweeps. And I'm thinking, is it a Bobcat system you're using of some sort that pulls the debris together?
Yes, we've got, we have two ways it happens. One, the big double trailers can't do cul-de-sacs, they
Right.
can't do small streets. If the street is big enough, they drop the trailer and they do another run with basically a half a truck. And then the ones who are, a lot of piles are under low tree limbs or under power lines, or they're on we've got some like Walnut, there's a whole road.
Gardner.
Feet wide, Gardner and Palm, whatever it is.
Palm Place.
Meadow Palm Place.
Palm Place.
And so those, yes, we bring a vehicle in, park it on the main road, and they bring a skid steer Bobcat in and out down the street, and they load all that stuff back out. They don't need to move it. We're going to come and get it, and we're working through all those pockets. We have a map that identifies where things have been picked up. We can see those on our map, streets that have not had collection, and we're working through those now.
Is that a map that residents can access so they can see, okay, you haven't been here, but you've been here? Is that something residents can access, or that I can point them to? Because I send you a lot of emails.
It's not out online. It's just an internal
Okay.
tool that I
Okay.
don't know. It's software that our monitoring company has that we use as our tool to ensure reimbursement. It shows that it's picked up in residential.
So my statement to my residents is going to be just put it all out, get it all out there every day if you have to.
What we'd like
Okay.
to see is get it out front. We expect to have 100% passage on first pass by Thanksgiving. The contractor trucks are going to go home during the Thanksgiving period to spend time with their families so they can come back refreshed and ready to finish our project.
okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name's Al Lutens. I live at 255 Lexington. I'm here on behalf of all the people that are sitting here tonight. I'm amazed. I put together a little group on Palmetto after the storm, talked to my commissioner, Quinita. A lot of the old-time business owners there, discouraged. Don't want to come before here, says nothing gets done, nobody cares. And I said, things change. You got to listen to what's said. You got to see. Things change every day. Tonight, I came thinking that it was going to be very negative for everybody. But to see and let everybody know residents and business we have the same message. The enemy really is Mother Nature right now. And this committee, this up front of us, has a chance to unify all of us and to help us out. Grants are great. We all need that. Loans are good, but who wants to pay back the loans? We want to know what the problem is. And I'm not going to go on and on about it. My first question was going to be, when I bought the businesses 4 years ago, they were doing the street up. And I was told that the problem that they had in the past was going to be resolved. So my business started later on through that year, through the construction, and then rains, things happen, and we're back to this day where we are now. We've had 2 major floods. I heard it cost $75 million. I'm hearing $100 million. I hear this gentleman from Miami saying, think big. I want to know what we're going to do to not put a Band-Aid on this problem and fix it. We want to be taken care of. We want, we pay our taxes. We're good citizens. Some of us don't put a lot of money in the bank. This is up for you guys. We believe in you to fight forward with us. You're not the enemies. Let's all come together. It's not just residents. It's not just businesses. So that's what I'm asking you to do, is anything you need us to do, tell us. We'll help it out, make it simple for some people. It's a big plan. But I think it's something that you can show that it doesn't matter what color you are, where you're from, where you've come from, that you have an opportunity to lead for us and make a difference for us. So I'll leave my other little points alone and I'll let the next speaker speak. But I believe in you and anything we can do from the Palmetto business side. And the last thing I'll add to it, it was kind of nice to get to know out there, and you get to, through adversity, you get to meet people. It's amazing when we have adversity, how we all come together. It's amazing. I think we do the best when we have adversity. And again, I'm challenging you through this adversity to bring us all together and lead us. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Candy Testaverde, and on deck, and I do apologize, is it Vadim Zolotarevsky?
There I am. Hi. I'm Candy Testaverde. I live over at the Riverhouse Condominiums off of Beach Street, 721. And first of all, thank you, Juanita, for the opportunity to participate in this process, and everyone here on the committee. The talking points that I have for you this evening, a lot of them have been, well addressed already, but to speak to my concern of having just lived here for 6 years is how much things have changed in terms of, literally the landscape of the city and how the water flows or doesn't flow anymore. And, very much, just like the last gentleman, we'd like to know where the water's coming from, that it used to go away and now it doesn't anymore. That the repairs that have been done seem to actually have made the problem worse instead of better. So some of the things I hope for Beach Street, with all of the reconstruction that's been done and all of the beautification that's being done, is that there's some sort of drainage that's going to happen so that when the water comes from the river, that all of that's not going to be washed up into these poor, business owners and the fire department and all of those people who are rebuilding for the nth time, and taking all of that, beautification away because it's not really addressing the problem. The other thing that I want to address from our building perspective is the fact that where we are at that little point behind the Walden Bar is not only does our little access street flood, but now what used to be our means of emergency egress out the backside through the adjoining apartment complex, that also now floods. So you can't get out of either side. It also means that emergency services, to buildings that are housing, many, retirees or, people that are wheelchair bound and all of those kinds of things, it makes it even more frightening because now nobody can get into them. Even, family that wants to come to comfort them can't get to them because the water is like a river just running down the street. I sent the pictures to Juanita, and she's like, and I sent it to my friends. Where's that water? Oh, that's the water. That's not the road anymore. So please, if we can, get that figured out. Thank you very much for the time. Thank you for your energy. And as everyone else has echoed, what can we do to help? so that we can all live here in a better way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, and is it Vaden? Okay. And on deck is Christine Lamana.
So,
Sorry about that.
hello, my name is Vadim Zoltarevsky, and I'm one of the owners of the business at 240 South Palmetto. And it's been, my partner does said 4 years, it's been 5 years we own it. Our neighbors across have been in their business over 30 years. And the problem that we see with the flooding is a major problem, not with the hurricanes, it's just water's not going anywhere. Every time it rains, there is a lake in front of a business that prohibits people from going in, going out, or driving. And it's the lake that you guys can see on the corner. It's Orange Avenue in Palmetto. It's just, ever since Orange Avenue was done, that lake is getting bigger and bigger every time it rains. So we don't know what the problem is, and I don't know if anybody will ever find out, but is there anything that the city, Army Corps of Engineers, or anyone else that we can call can put some investigative powers to and get it fixed? Because as business owners, this is the second time we're redoing everything inside the business on our own dime, our own hands, our own time. And you know it takes time to do that. So let us know what we can do, but we're looking for some solutions, some answers, please, because it is ongoing problem. You can't have 200-year-old storms every 43 days and then rebuild the whole business back again. It's just going to be no business downtown. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Christine Lamana, and on deck is Ivan, is it Kosimi?
Hi, everybody. My name's Christine Lamana. I own and operate two businesses out of 240 and 244 South Palmetto Avenue. And I'm also speaking for the other business owners that also share space inside my business. There's 5 independent businesses within my address. It's going to probably sound kind of redundant. I'm actually originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. I guess I'm a sucker for pain. I come from one flood zone and I come to another. I've seen Hurricane Katrina. I've seen, maybe we can't say New Orleans did the best job, but there's some solutions out there for flooding. We could talk about the dams. We were looking at what Quinita put up, and it'd be amazing if the city could put something for that, but it's just a Band-Aid. I mean, we could put out all this money, or we could look for a solution. Do we call in the big guns? Do we call in the Army Corps of Engineers? Do we ask other cities that have encountered things like this, what did they do? But ever since Orange Avenue was redone, we have noticed a lot more flooding. My business has flooded 3 times. Hurricane Irma, and I'm still repaying an SBA loan. I don't need loans, and I just opened that business and I flooded it. Hurricane Ian, sewer backed up into my business. It flooded in my business. I had to take out all my floors. It's been a mess. And then 43 days later, I get more water in my business from Nicole. So the amount of water, I mean, I have pictures. I mean, it went up my driveway. It flooded in the side of my door. It's crazy, but we have to find a solution for it. I mean, a dam would be lovely, but we really need to find a solution because maybe it'll help me as a business owner, but what about the residents down here that flooded as well? With FEMA, as a business owner, it doesn't really help you. You have to not be approved by the SBA in order to get FEMA, and I don't need another loan. I need another loan like I need a slap in the face right now. So my hope is that you guys, please invite the governor. Please, you have a bigger voice than I do. Let's try to find an actual solution to the flooding down here, please. It's gotten worse, and we need to find a solution instead of just continuing to put a Band-Aid on the problem. I'm sure I'm speaking for everybody, and you're probably going to hear very similar things, but that's all I wanted to say, and hopefully you guys' voices are bigger than mine. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ivan Kosimi, 131 Wimbledon Court, Port Orange. I'm the CEO of SMA Healthcare. We actually purchased the property, the old Cobb and Cole property on the corner of Palmetto and Magnolia in 2017, March of 2017. That's our headquarters. That's where all the administrative services are. We have 65 professionals that work there. every new employee at SMA, and believe it or not, we have 1,000, comes to that site and gets trained before they go out into the field. It's a great location. We're happy to be here. In September of 2017, with Irma, we had just a tremendous amount of flooding, which basically took out everything on the first floor. That's a 2-story building, thankfully. We had about $500,000 worth of damage, another $120,000 in contents. Thankfully, unlike a lot of folks, we did have really good insurance, and so we had everything covered. We were made whole. We were very happy about that. After that, our board said, hey, what are you guys going to do? So we bought these dams that you've heard about. They're called quick dams. They sit in doorways, and they have a neoprene frontage to them. And so we put those in 2017. We didn't have a problem until November of 2021, and the dams came in handy. They actually stopped the water again, so we were really happy. When Ian came around, it was kind of a different story. Water actually came up and went over the dams. They're only about 26 inches tall, so that was a little bit of a problem. We had a little bit of damage. We did lose all of our flooring. We did not lose the amount of sheetrock and that kind of thing during Ian, so we were really, really happy about that. Second storm came along with Nicole, and we had an SUV just plow through on Magnolia that created a tidal wave, and it actually busted out the dam. The dam, you can see it on video, just took the dam out, and all the water came into the building, creating this just enormous amount of damage. So we're looking at about another $350,000. For SMA, I wouldn't be a responsible CEO and a fiduciary for a nonprofit if I didn't say, hey, what are we going to do? How are we going to mitigate this? So we're looking at double dams maybe. We're looking at maybe raising the floor in the building. We really want to stay here. But I think at some point my board might get a little nervous and say, hey, what are you guys doing? Why aren't you doing something? I appreciate all the comments here today. We have an incredible board of directors, business leaders from the community who will fight the good fight for you guys. So whatever we can do, we're at the table with you, and that's my comments for today. Thank you very much for all your work.
Thank you for being here. Could you address something? Sure. Could you just go over the number the contractor charged you or gave you? And now don't tell me who the contractor was, but the estimate they gave you that we looked at.
Well, for the sheetrock, it was $250,000. And, I don't know if it was just kind of somebody trying to make a quick buck. But, yeah, that was sort of right after the storm, and they came in and gave us that quote. So we didn't go with them. But thank you.
Our next speaker is, I believe it's Stephen Fenari, and on deck is Russell Bryant.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. So I own Ripple Co-working, Thomas Lee Acquisition Corp., and you guys approved the redevelopment grant today, so thank you. You don't undertake the restoration of a 100-year-old historic building lightly. And for the past year and a half, my wife and I have purchased this building and taking a huge risk in downtown Daytona Beach because we believe in the historic district. We were weeks away from completing our first floor when Ian hit. About 45% of our first floor flooded. To add insult to injury were the cars coming down Orange Avenue, kicking up wakes after we had cleaned up already and driving more water into our businesses. The redevelopment board here has been great and been accommodating, but every change that we want to make to our building, we have to go through redevelopment. And it strikes me that you can't have it both ways, right? You can't require the owners of these historic buildings to go through redevelopment and then not do what you can to make sure that our roads are not flooding and that the roads are not closed when they are flooded. And just to kind of put numbers on it, we are not rich people. We take a huge risk. It's a huge loan to buy this building and to renovate. And, you know, in Ian, we suffered $14,000 in damages. I did the work myself because we couldn't afford to bring in contractors because we're already at the limit of what we can afford doing our renovations. It was a 5-week disruption that we were closed. It affected the few clients that we have in there already. We just started ramping up our rental. We rent individual offices to other businesses who are also affected by this. 43 days later, with Nicole, the identical flooding. We experienced the identical flooding. Now, we put some remediation measures in place, PVC molding. We didn't sheetrock down to the floors, but still, it was another, 10 days of work. Somebody just walked past me in the aisle. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's going to take me a minute to get up because I've been on my hands and knees caulking baseboard for the last 5 days." So to reiterate some of the other people here, we're here to support you. I think the business owners here would love to find a solution, would love to work with the city on things that we can do now, and also work with you with the state and the federal government. I think you have a strong group of merchants and residents that would stand behind you and do whatever it takes to help fix this problem. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Russell Bryant, and on deck is Tammy Kaczynski.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, and staff, city staff. My name is Russell Bryant. I'm here to represent 705 South Beach Street and 1025 South Beach Street. These two properties are apartment complexes that have 448 apartments. Unfortunately, out of the 448 apartments, 184 were flooded with Hurricane Nicole. Hurricane Nicole was similar to Irma, a huge storm surge up the river. To ask for a solution on that is a great task. I understand that you can't keep the river in the banks for the entire state of Florida, let alone city of Daytona. But Hurricane Ian flooded a number of our apartments, and there was no excuse for those to be flooded. The banks held the river back. It wasn't a storm surge. It was city drainage. Unfortunately, Beach Street takes a lot of water from US 1 heading east. There is not enough way to divert water out of the Beach Street basin, if you wish to call it that. I think the bike paths are very nice. However, it was more hardscape. We created more of a dam, I think, than anything. I talked to staff when they were building it. I said, "Are you sure this is a good idea? We got everything under control. We're going to work on the drainage." It made it worse. The bike path is higher in a lot of different sections of it. It's holding back water. It is less pervious land. It seems like we're doing things the wrong way. We're doing it backwards. So I asked for my 184 residents that are going to have to relocate. They're going to have to pay higher rents because we are one of the affordable areas around here. To think about them. We're going to work with them as best as we can. Many of them want to stay. They love it where they are. They don't want to move. Some we will have to force them to move because we can't do the repairs because it's so great in scale. Others, we will work with them and we will try to make sure that they can stay in their place that they wish to stay. They are sincerely rock stars in dealing with this, and we're going to try to do the best we can. Thank you.
I know where you're located, but some people may not. And so you're located at the intersection of Bellevue and Beach Street in that corner. So we're actually on the south side as you're going up to Ridgewood. And that little area there, it's a little T, it's a square. It's 4 corners there. That's where River Place 100 intersects.
Correct.
That's where Beach Street comes down. Marina Boat Works is right there. Your complex is right there. Windsor Maley is also very close to that particular area. All happens right there in that corner.
Correct. Yes. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tammy Kaczynski, and on deck is Johnson Quinn.
Good evening. I think you guys already know it floods by us a lot. Tammy Kozinski, 55 River Dunes Drive. Mayor Henry, thank you for making it one city. I live on one side of the river. My business is on this side of the river, though. My business is at 214 South Beach, Sweet Marlays. It doesn't just flood, and you've heard this, during a storm. I've been there since 2010. On a random Tuesday, my girls are squeegeeing water out the back of my shop because we've had a heavy rain. The drainage behind us in that parking lot and off of Magnolia and Wall Street is atrocious. My little Mustang, often, I can't take her out on Magnolia on a random Tuesday because it rained. I have to go out to Palmetto, go down Orange Avenue, pray like hell that I don't get flooded out, trying to get back over to the beach side to get home. I was driving around on Wednesday after we had used Gorilla Tape, tarps, and sandbags to try and protect our shop yet again. At noon, it was already flooding on Main Street. The fishing hole was a disaster. Thank God I was in my husband's car and not mine, because it's taller. As I came down, it was flooded on Beach Street already before anything had happened, except some rain, pre-storm, all the way to Magnolia. It was already wet. Thank you for inviting the governor. Please beg him, don't just invite. Have that meeting with Mr. Scott up in DC, but include Mr. Rubio and Mr. Waltz, and invite those gentlemen to come on down, and I'll give them a squeegee for any random Tuesday. They want to come squeegee out my shop because it happened to rain again, unless they would love to help us fix the problem of obvious drainage issues. And I think the feds have a little bit more money than Daytona Beach, last I checked. Thank you, and thank you for your help.
Our next speaker is Johnson Quinn, and on deck is Cynthia Slater.
Greetings, all. Good evening. My name is Iris Johnson Quinn, and I own the property at 640 Willie Drive, and I reside there. That is my primary home, and I love being in that area. A lot of things have already been said, and I have a whole list of a lot of things that I wanted to say. But I'm going to just leave this with you all. As a veteran, as a disabled American veteran, as a woman veteran, living in the neighborhood as a senior with other seniors, active duty military, and veterans, Russell and Willie Drive needs to be a priority. And I called the city on Monday. They asked them to turn the pumps on. I called them on Tuesday. Please turn these pumps on. Wednesday, I called them, but I knew, especially when the guy says, "Is that lady from Willie Drive again?" I'm like, yes. But Wednesday afternoon, high tide had already come in, so there was nowhere for the water to go. We need to be preventive in this city, and we need to look out for our seniors, which I am one, our veterans, which I am one, and our active duty military, because we've served you. Now we need you to serve us, and don't serve us no more water. Serve us some protective measures that we can keep our properties and continue to love and serve this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Cynthia Slater, and on deck is Morgan Graham.
Good evening, Cynthia Slater. I've been up here several times since Hurricane Ian, but I want to just, and we've talked about a lot of stuff, including the drainage and what we're going to do to mitigate the issues that this entire city is dealing with. But just to kind of piggyback on a couple of things, those flyers that, I want to first thank you all, the city, for creating those flyers that we passed out last night at the meeting. They helped a lot. And those flyers, we talked about getting that information out to the community about 2 weeks ago. So those flyers came in handy when we, during our meeting. But in the meeting last night at Allen Chapel, we had over 150 people at that meeting, and that's just counting those that were able to get out. That's not even counting the elderly and disabled people who couldn't get out, who for whatever reason. But it was well attended, and I want to thank Ken Thomas for standing and explaining all of the things that needed to take place, the process. And it wasn't easy because he heard everything from residents, the concerns, recommendations, and the like. One of the concern, and I have a whole list. I don't have enough copies, but I'll make sure that everybody.
She'll get it to us.
Oh,
give it to us.
okay, all right. They have, the person that took the notes have Mr. Brown is 63 years old, but Mr. Brown made some comments, and he's about 83, so it's corrected on that. But one of the concerns that I just noticed, that when you all said that you added Hurricane Nicole onto people that were affected by Hurricane Nicole onto this package of the $1.5 million. That when you all first initiated this $1.5 million packet, at first we thought it was $2.5 million. That's what was said at the last meeting. But now that you've added, well, I don't know. Anyway.
It's $2 million.
It was 2.5. Yeah.
$2,500,000 for one part. 2.5.
Oh, okay. But anyway, it was only, at that time, it was for only Hurricane Ian. But now that you have added Hurricane Nicole to this devastation, wouldn't that decrease the amount of dollars that people would qualify for? I would recommend that you revisit the amount of dollars that you have put into place. My time up already? I just got up here. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, I would just recommend that you. I have a whole lot of other stuff to say, but you'll hear from me again.
Okay.
But I would recommend that you increase those dollars because you've added another hurricane in residents that was impacted by that storm.
Morgan Graham. Our next speaker is Morgan Graham, and on deck is Dr. Victor Gooden.
Thank you all. So I live at 220 Magnolia Avenue above the Cellar Restaurant, and I also am the general manager of Madeline's Wine Bar on 200 North Beach Street at Beach and Bay. I have been a Daytonian for 1 year and 16 days now, today, obviously the 16th. And my full year here, the glaring thing that I realized upon moving here was infrastructure issues all over the city. Being a New Yorker, I understand infrastructure and issues, and being an East Sider, I understand flooding and infrastructure issues. So when you see all these resources here for you who are eking out a living on Beach Street every day, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to be here, to choose to be here, we can look at this opportunity to look forward over the next 5 or 10 years or so and really invest in what the heck we're going to do to keep this area alive or scrap it. Sounds kind of brutal, maybe, maybe not, but that long-term planning is going to get us in a situation where we're not talking about this for 10 years in a row. It's going to get us in a situation where my children will be able to live here and enjoy my businesses that I have built along Beach Street like everyone else. You say that you need money. What brings in money? People like me, people who are building and opening multiple businesses, people in the back row, people in this row, people all over, people who left here already, people who aren't even here. That brings in money. Not necessarily retirees, not necessarily Margaritaville, not necessarily other things. So when we think about long-term planning, I want us to think in that direction to bring money here. Because when I look all around, Florida, even to Ormond, even to down here to New Smyrna, they figured some things out that we have decided to just overlook here. And we can continue to overlook them, or we can just do the hard work and bring everybody up together. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dr. Victor Gooden. On deck is Bobby Hudson.
Mr. Master, City Commission, Dr. Victor Gooden, 809 Pelican Bay Drive, Senior Pastor of New Life Church Ministries for over 32 years, President, Daytona Beach Black Clergy Alliance, and member of the NAACP Executive Board. We're grateful to the city manager, staff, commissioners, for your tremendous effort thus far in making a way to help our citizens with grant funds. As you are aware, and more than aware, this is a time when a lot of our homeowners, residents, business owners are not in a position of what we would call normalcy. It's a matter of human rights for hurting people who have been displaced. At the previous City Commission meeting when I was here, there was no indication that these grant funds would be income-driven or what it looks like cash qualifying. It should be circumstance-driven. The state of Florida grant is not income-driven for mortgage assistance. We realize that various factors must be considered before disbursing funds. However, consider streamlining the qualifications in order to get the money to the people who need it desperately. I was at the meeting last night, and residents were just, they weren't so much upset but confused because it was a mixed message from the previous meeting to what they saw on the paper. And you received this from us, while bank statements required. If FEMA funds are received, can they still receive funds? The gentleman last night, Mr. Thomas, I believe is his name, was very helpful in giving out what information he had. But the concern is so many things to qualify a person who's already been disqualified by the storm. Your jobs and your job individually, your job is tremendous, difficult and challenging. But remember this, you signed up for it.
Our next speaker is Bobby Hudson. And on deck, it's Camille. And is Camille, what's the last name? I can't. Hold on.
Ain't no complaints about that. That's the truth.
Hello.
Ms. Hudson.
My name is Bobby Hudson, and I live in the 300 block of Walnut Street, and I wasn't really directly affected by the storm. The neighbors in the 400 block, and my questions have already been answered by Commissioner May and the gentleman who came up and talked about the trucks. We had a little meeting at my residence yesterday morning, and I text Commissioner May about the situation of the trucks and them being neglected as far as their debris and other things being picked up at the curb, and we were concerned about it. So I came to represent them because there are a lot of senior citizens that live on the lower end of Walnut Street, and some of them just didn't know what steps to take or what to do. So I'm thankful to be able to come here tonight and take something positive back to them, because I realize and see the size of the trucks. And a lot of this stuff is piled up in front of their residents still, and it's a health hazard, and we're concerned about it. So thank you all, everybody, for working with the residents of the 32114 area.
Our next speaker is Camille Holder-Brown, and on deck is John Nicholson.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to say, Commissioner May, you remember when we were feeding people after the other hurricane? One of the ladies that I saw recently had her baby, and I saw her on the bus today when I was with my children on the bus. And I only have one car right now because of many reasons, but I'm on the bus, and I said, you know, there's going to be some money coming up that you can apply for your family. And she said to me she wasn't eligible. She said, I'm not eligible because I live at the Hope Place. And it bothered me because the people that live there are trying to advance in life and live the American dream like we all are. And I heard the sister that is a veteran saying that, you know, she should be eligible. We can't pick and choose who needs help and who is suffering, because suffering is suffering. And I think that we've all been affected. And if you're in a position where you don't need the money, I'm sure you wouldn't go apply for it. So if someone needs the money, I feel like they should be able to apply for it and be able to get the help they need to better their family. I just wanted to share that. Yes, we flooded twice on Beach Street. The first time that we had, the flooding wasn't as bad as us losing power and some equipment breaking. There was this oil and gas that came, this gas smell that permeated the area, and this sewage and oil that came up in my restaurant. We were afraid to open because we have gas appliances, and we didn't want everything to explode. I'm in the middle of filing the claim. They denied me, and I kept fighting. I just want to say that this second hurricane, we had water come up, not as high as my neighbors that a fish came to their door that they got a video of. That was 1.5 feet over by the old Hamburger Mary's. On my side, it was more like half of a foot. But it was enough where water got into my equipment and broke 2 pieces of equipment. These are pieces of equipment that are $3,000, $5,000. The only reason that I'm still in business and I haven't closed down after 2 hurricanes is because I recently purchased the building at 110 Beach Street, and I was able to use some of my equipment allowance budget to buy equipment now to use it. If it hadn't been for that big SBA loan that I got for my building, I would be out of business because I wouldn't have enough equipment to keep my produce. I'm very reliant on fresh food and produce. So that was a big problem. I did go to a meeting today. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll wrap it up. So a solution, before every rainy season, can we have all the pumps cleared? And when was the last revision of the pump stormwater plan in Daytona? And is it something where they can include remote sensors? That's what they did in Port Orange. I was at a meeting today with Mr. Jake Johannesson with the Faith Committee, and that was one of the solutions he gave. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Our next speaker is John Nicholson, and on deck is Ava Capoli.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview. First, Ruth, thank you. Thank you for serving. Okay, you didn't have to, but it's very hard to get people to serve on a commission, and you did it well. Thank you. Secondly, I want to thank all the people that showed up from downtown. It's been almost 20 years since we had this many people show up from downtown. They wanted to put a fire tax on the properties that were off the tax rolls, and they showed up in large numbers. So it is good to see people coming into the city commission meetings. I have a long list of what's needed on Beachside. I fared very well. I always do. I'm on a dune, so I'm not hurt other than minor window breakage and gutters and things of that nature. But I've heard at one meeting that the Corps of Engineers did a study, and we have it. I was told we needed $3 million to get this study, and then I was told we already have it. It's already in the planning. So if we have it, let's use it. If we don't have it, let's get it. Secondly, we know what the problem is. For years, Midtown's in a bowl. It has nowhere to go. Ship it out to the ocean. Well, we can't ship it to the river because the river's higher than our pipes. Now downtown's flooding. It has nowhere to go. About 15 years ago, Jim Chisholm suggested we use a reverse pipe and send it out west. And while they were planning that, the Speedway needed it. They were developing Daytona 1 or One Daytona. So we gave it to them. What would it cost to build the pipe down ISB, like Bennett, put it in the swamp, put it in the forest? We have 200 acres out there. Put it there till it drains. But we're never going to get the water. And Juanita, you had those pictures. That water's always going to be there, and it always floods. The end of Main Street always floods. We cannot send it east. It has to go west. We could dig up all of Midtown, make a great big puddle there, and it still wouldn't be enough. We could get rid of all of downtown and move it somewhere else, and it wouldn't be enough. We've got to get the water west. Putting it east or keeping it downtown or keeping it in Midtown is not going to help. It's just too much. We need to send it west. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ava Capoli, and on deck is Kenny Southall. Is there an Ava here? Ava? Okay, then our next speaker is Kenny Southall.
Good evening. I'm glad to see so many people here, and we all have the same problem. And we're not asking you to solve our problem. We're asking you to let us help you solve the problem, because evidently you do need help, and you can't do it by yourself. So if you listen to us, see our problem, and address the problem to the best of your ability. And another thing is, I know Mr. Brown, and he's been in his place, how many years, Mr. Brown? 64 years. And how many times have you been flooded out? 5 times. And he is in the lowest part of town. And they come in and build a project on South Street just as low as his house. Now you tell me, what sense does that make? Do you care about Mr. Brown? Do you care about the people that are living in a residence? They're going to be flooded out every time it rains. He's going to be flooded out. And his tears make it worse. And we do nothing. And when we I heard about the dams that you put on the doors. I personally took some plywood and some styrofoam and sealed that. No rain came in, no water came in. But the houses have to be sealed from the foundation. And so the water only way it's gonna come through is through the doors. But 9 times out of 10, that's not done properly. I know, because I built homes. If we don't start caring about one another, we're gonna always have this problem. And the only way we're gonna solve it, we all got to work together. I'm not asking you to do it by yourself. Inform us as what we need to do to help you get your job done.
So it actually, sir, it actually worked. So you actually were able to build something that
Build
stopped the
something
water from
that
going
worked.
in.
Right.
What about the sides and the foundation? What happened there? Did water
The
come in through
foundation
the?
It's not sealed properly.
Okay.
So the water can seep through the foundation. Like I was telling you before, the city have changed the code. And the foundation is built a little higher now. So the water level don't come in to the doors. So it's properly sealed. But it's a problem because the new homes are built higher. The house over here is still sitting on the ground.
Right, right.
So when they don't build a proper drainage where it won't affect this home that's been there for years. And it's a proven thing. It's homes that are built 50 years ago, that built at least 12 inches above the ground and don't flood.
All right.
The water came through on Mr. Brown's house about 3 feet. But the water that came
Not in the front.
on the
Huh.
project was only about 4 inches.
Okay.
All you had to do is raise it up 4 or 5 inches, it wouldn't have flooded.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Destiny Williams, and on deck is Frederick Brown.
Good evening, Destiny Williams, 809 Cottle Circle. You know, I come to these meetings and I'm always like, I'm not gonna speak, I'm not gonna say anything, but kind of can't help myself. A few notes, maybe not necessary, but I know that the mayor mentioned that, well, maybe we'll get Governor Ron DeSantis down here. It's over a month since Hurricane Ian has hit us. He should have been here. It just appears that because he's been here, but did he go down the streets where there were flooding? He did? Oh, interesting. That wasn't discussed. So it just appears that now that another area or maybe demographic is hit, that it's more. At the meeting last night, they said that $20 million was given overnight to those people, and we're here kind of fighting for, it says 2.5, but Mr. Thomas told us 1.5. The numbers keep changing, so we don't really know. And now it's up to 9,000 with a lot of stipulations. So the people are a little discouraged with the misinformation or misunderstanding. Mr. Mayor, you said one city, one vision. I think that's a lovely motto to have for the city. At the meeting last night, someone was asking, where is our mayor? Where is our mayor? They wanted to see you be more involved with that. And I think that when we do have those meetings and things like that, if maybe all of the commissioners can come, because that would show unity to the zones affected or for the whole city of Daytona, because we're all ultimately affected by this. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Frederick Brown, and on deck is Michelle Dixon.
Frederick Brown, 1508 Crescent Ridge, Daytona Beach. Once again, I come to you to talk about flooding. I did a little homework and research, and preface that I've also requested numerous times that we look into the Sister City program. Just a little bit of background on the Dutch. For 700 years, they've been fighting the ocean. 21% of the 17.4 million people in Holland live below the sea level, comfortably. For 400 years, they have been working on the dike system. They have 880 kilometers of beach, and yet they have over 22,000 kilometers of dikes. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's learn from people who already have been there, done that successfully for 700 years. Let's learn. Let's get a sister city in Holland. Now, in doing my research on this, I noticed on June 17th of 2009, the city commission meeting, of which, Mr. Mayor, I believe you were a commissioner at the time, we approved a $361,000 contract to GAI. I think John was talking about this. Okay, they did a complete study. Now, I didn't find this till just recently. And of course, as a citizen, I'm not entitled to be on the broadcast thing. But here's that study. Okay, I know, Mr. Mayor, you've seen it. This is dated April 6, 2010, 12 years ago, 12 and a half years ago. Before I saw this study, when I talked to Libby Coleman, and I saw the look in her eyes where she needed help on Cottle Circle, I walked the neighborhood. I didn't get 361,000. I saw what the problem was. I talked to the residents that had been there for a long time. I got a lot of insight on what was wrong with our drainage system. And then I read this report, and this report was exactly the same thing that I observed. It said that you needed to have a viable pumping system at Butts Pond. You also were supposed to get an additional drainage pond there as well on the county property. Why didn't any of this happen 12 years ago? I have a picture of what the pump looked like before the last storm. Unfortunately, I can't show you all. It's not there. It's out for repair. I don't know if anybody from the utilities department is here to speak on why this didn't get fixed. But I've also stated you cannot have a pumping system without a backup. You had one pump, non-functional. That's the reason everything flooded. Now, if you read this study, okay, that we paid the citizens 12 years ago, paid $361,000, you'll realize the water does go east, not west, John. We have the benefit of that. We can send the water east. Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is Michelle Dixon, and on deck is Pierre Lewis.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Dixon, and I'm the manager for WM at the River, which managed the Maley and the Wilton building. So we're here to talk about how the storm impacted our community. Normally when we have an incident where we're having a storm, we have our maintenance supervisor, which is Ray Maldonado. We have him stay on the property so that he can monitor everything and let us know by chat or text what's going on. So I'm going to let him explain to you what we do and how this impacted our residents. Right.
How y'all doing? So we experienced high tide, as we all know. The water came over into the middle of the street. And at that time, we started taking water heavily, and which caused a lot of our residents, which is the major problem, to be trapped in our buildings. A lot of these people are elderly, people in wheelchairs, and they cannot. I have personally, with Juanita, have delivered meals, water constantly, try to meet their needs. But at this point, with them being trapped with all this water, they can't get out. The elevators are malfunctioning, like we're dealing with a lot. And at that point, we got our own pumps going, our fire system's trying to get everything going and trying to get all that water out, but unfortunately, of course, not successfully. And that's pretty much what we're dealing up against with the water situation.
How long are your elevators shut down when this happens? You shut it down during the storm, but then water gets in, and then what happens?
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, we shut down the elevator on the 12th floor, then it gets stuck out there, and we can't get service from our company, Oracle, to be able to run it back up, and now these people are just left there. And we take it upon ourselves to go up 12 floors, a flight of stairs to be able to get them water, food, and whatever we can do for them. But it's just us.
Yeah. And it was days without the elevator. That just.
And this is not the first time you've been days without the elevator.
We are experiencing that right now.
Yeah, I know.
We're still down.
No, it's at the mail.
At the mail.
At the mail, yes.
Okay.
We got meals to them today.
Thanks to Sally.
Through a church group, but this is what we're experiencing at the moment.
And we're doing a renovation, so they don't want to do the elevators before it's done, because I guess they're afraid they'll be damaged. from that construction and everything.
It doesn't matter what elevators you get in there, the
Yeah.
water's still gonna get in there, it's still
Right.
gonna
Whether they're
damage.
new or old. Well, in the rain, if the doors aren't shut, the glass on each floor, it comes in and goes down the elevator shaft. So that's.
Throughout the, it's running the pumps, trying to get the water out of there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and sharing. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm a commissioner for the Housing Authority, and one of our family sites was totally destroyed. And we've been farming people out.
Sally Jazz.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Give your name. Sally Jazz, Windsor. What's your address?
524 South Beach,
Paper later.
Windsor Apartments.
Okay.
So I've been there 14 years. And they're doing everything they can. And like she said about he said about the wheelchairs, even it's, when the elevators are down, and believe me, I live on the 11th, it's very hard for a lot of the people to go anywhere or do anything or get food to them and things. And Juanita brought some young people to go up those stairs. I went up, I think it was, 6 days we were without power? Yeah. So it's like we need higher river walls and better drainage. Thank you all for what you're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final speaker tonight is Pierre Lewis.
So much sorry about that, Mr. Mayor. I used to work at Housing Authority.
Yes, you did.
Pierre Lewis, 130 South Franklin Street. Good evening to the mayor and to the city commissioners. I just wanted a quick comment because some of my comments you've heard, a lot of them already, but as I gave a list to Commissioner Reed the last time about what I figured some of my suggestions that I was looking at, and I did my research like the gentleman did earlier. So as I looked at that, I found that same plan that he was talking about. So I won't belabor you with those things, but it's very interesting, that one that was done in 2010, because it talks really about the success of how to create that and how to mitigate all that risk that's in the Midtown area. But the other thing too is on the board for Midtown, this is the strategic plan. It calls when it talks about a stormwater master plan. Does anybody know if that exists? No? I thought so. And that was interesting because on page 10 right here, it talks about the creation of development of the stormwater master plan. And then you go a little bit further, it talks about creation of the master plan for the sewer. And then a little bit further back here, on this page, on page 56, it's actually got a heading where it says stormwater master plan, blah, blah, blah. I won't belabor with all that. But that's in here in the Midtown. So I was wondering why they reference that, because they reference that there, and they actually reference it here. And then if you do your research and go a little bit further, there's a large-scale comprehensive plan development that was done in April to July of 2011. And in that, it talks about a stormwater master plan. But what's interesting is that stormwater master plan says that it's done in the EZ zone. I don't know what the EZ zone is, Commissioner, but I don't think it's the Midtown zone. But that's what it calls for there. So I guess my question is, as I start to put my stuff together to think, okay, I'm developing that emergency response team, I'm looking at best practices that are out there. That's what started me. Try to find some of the best practices so I can put that together. That's when it calls, when I saw the stormwater master plan, I thought to myself, I Googled, I did like everybody else, I did on the city's Boolean search to look for stormwater master plan. And honestly, folks, unless I'm probably mistaken, but it doesn't exist. And this was talked about, like I said, this is 2013, it was there. Other one says 2010 says it exists. Another one says 2011. Something called a stormwater master plan. And I would think that moving forward, because we like success, all right? Getting the win, Getting to yes. Moving forward, that all this information that we're gathering from the citizens that are here, be it on whatever side, whatever culture, wherever they are, this will go into that stormwater master plan, because like I Googled the definition, and when you're creating that, it requires flooding and all that stuff like that. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone. Good night.